Hey, it's Spencer Foreman and John Denwood, and we're here today with Sales Funnels Live. On this week's installment, we're going to turn WooCommerce into a sales funnel machine. Spence, what's the topic of today's show? Well, in this workshop, John, we're going to show how the LaunchFlows plugin makes WooCommerce do things you never thought possible. Instant registration, order bumps, upsells and downsells, donations, custom thank you pages are all easy. Thanks for that introduction, letting me start the show. And what we're going to do is I'm going to do this in a couple phases. We're going to start out by showing you the things that we can do and why. We're going to have a little conversation. Then I'm going to show you the stack of stuff. We're going to have a little conversation. Then we're going to show how easy it is to configure it. And finally, we're going to talk about what this means for you if you're a web designer or an agency. Let's get started. Here we've got the site that we used from last week. And I'm trying to do some continuity because in these shows, what we're trying to do is set up the basic tools that we're going to use from here on out. For those of you who are actually watching this now, this is a precursor to what we hope to do with this whole set of stuff. We want to show you that WooCommerce, WordPress, LaunchFlows, a few plugins is a stack of things that allow you to do more for yourself or your clients than ClickFunnels. You don't have to rent ClickFunnels. You can use WooCommerce, WordPress, a few things in this stack. More importantly, if you as a web designer, an agency, or an end user need either to acquire the things that we're going to show you when we do side-by-side funnel comparisons, those will be available to you as part of what we're offering. So you can just literally copy and paste it. If you want to actually have a ready-to-go stack, those will be available to you. If you want a block of expertise, 10 hours with myself and my team, that will be available. Or if you want somebody to do implementation of web design, content management, LMS, that'll be available to you through John's team. The point is we want to cover everybody here who are potential audience members to let you know this is the future of WordPress, whether you're the end user or the agency, and we can all work together in helping you and us get the things we want to achieved, which is don't do things the old way. Don't waste your time. And we can all refer business amongst ourselves if we're in this space of being a professional. All right. So today, let's start out with the end result. Remember last week we talked about lead magnets, bringing somebody onboarding. And in this stack, I'm showing, and by the way, I have my tea and my soup here because I may need it for my voice because I'm a little under the weather. We talked about.
I'm going to be very nice to Spence because he's not well.
Thanks, Jonathan.
And he pointed out he's on his Fridays he has 2 hours of the audience.
It's like going to the doctor. So what we're going to do today is go from where we started last week, or finished last week, I should say, of having a lead magnet onboarding system where somebody becomes a prospect because they've said they're interested in something that you have to offer. We talked about registering now for a free webinar, right? So somebody came here and said, Tony at Roma.com, they could be registered and then they'll be delivered to wherever we want using the same mechanics we're going to extend further today. Today, we're going to talk about how you can use LaunchFlows, which is a plugin that I actually author, to create the kind of sales funnel experience that people expect versus a Home Depot experience like WooCommerce offers out of the box. So let's first talk about what that means in a practical sense. Let's say somebody is shopping in a traditional WooCommerce store, which, by the way, is very attractive, but it's this metaphor of somebody who needs something fixed at their home has to know what's wrong, go to the Home Depot, find the particular product or part they need somewhere in the thousands of products in Home Depot, then schlep it all home. Wouldn't it be cool if instead you understood so much as the owner of a hardware store that you could predict when people are going to come to your store and meet them in the parking lot in their car with the parts they need, plus offer them all the other things and accessories and instructions that go along with it, even to the point where they've automatically paid for it because they were a prior customer. So the concierge experience that sales funnels deliver mean that more people buy, they're happier, they don't churn out of your store, meaning like stop coming to you in the future because they're buying this like understanding of a relationship. You know them, they know your products. You can work on the fact that they don't have to struggle to shop around. Now, even though in this store I have like 5 products, just the fact here that somebody has to go through a traditional like, okay, I got to look at the product and I got to add it to the cart. That is much, much more work than what we can do to make this better. So the product that we're primarily using, and again, I'm the author of this, and this is something that I've really focused most of my professional career on working towards, is making WooCommerce, e-commerce, sales funnels, membership sites, marketing automation better and easier. LaunchFlows turns WooCommerce into a tool that delivers the same stuff like a ClickFunnels. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to take a product that normally has to go, to a cart page after somebody adds it to the cart, and we're going to modify that to show you how we can just send it right to a checkout instead. Now, let's do that first, and then I'll show you how easy that is to set up with LaunchFlows. And what I can do here is while I'm working on this, let me get rid of, and I can scale this to fill the screen a little bit better so we give you best visibility possible. All right, I think that's going to work out pretty good. Cool. So let's talk about this. Let's say in this product, I'm going to edit the product. Now, I've already installed LaunchFlows, so I don't have to worry about the fact that I have to add a new sequence of things. I could just modify the product itself so that it behaves the way I wish. So I go to the tab for this product for LaunchFlows, and we have an option here called Select the Next Step. If I want to make a product that goes directly to the checkout with a custom link, all I need to do is just type the page that is my main checkout or is my custom checkout. And that's worth noting that I can create an unlimited number of custom checkouts, or I can just use the one global. Let's in fact go over here and see what we've got. If I look at my pages with WooCommerce, you can normally designate which is your default checkout. And let's trash this extra one I was using last week. So here I've got my default checkout page, and I don't need to do anything to modify this, but I actually could, if I want, even modify this to make it the way I want with layouts and so forth. But in general, though, let's refresh this page. I just choose that checkout page as where I want this product to go. And then I can also, if I want, have a designation of where it goes after it's bought. So let's start over here and I'll say, I want this product to go right to checkout. And then afterwards, I want them to go somewhere else. Typically, I might have a custom thank you page, or I might have another product, as I'll show you in a second, that I want to offer. But in this case, I'm just going to send them to the My Account area. And I notice we seem to have a double of, I'm not sure why, maybe because I installed this plugin twice, but let's just delete that. Make sure we're on the right page. So basically, now I've got the opportunity, instead of forcing somebody to go through the 5-step process of literally going to the shop page, finding a product, going to the single product page, going to the cart, then adding it to the checkout. Instead, I can create a custom button or image, use it anywhere I want on the internet, on my Facebook, on my Instagram, on my TikTok, even inside of another layout of the page. And that link or button will work everywhere, right? So let me just make sure I got the right page here because I deleted that extra My Account. Okay. LaunchFlows on any product gives you this custom checkout link. So all I need to do is click copy. Now, what does this do? Watch what this does. I paste this link directly or with any clickable element, and it sends that particular product directly to the checkout. I hope you noticed that I didn't have to do anything special. Let me do it one more time to make sure I make my point. So if I put that URL in via any clickable link, that product went right to the checkout. And one of the things to notice is that with the LaunchFlows checkout page, I've got some new features like the ability to remove it and the way this is styled and so forth. But let's talk about what this means from a practical standpoint. This means that I am no longer stuck. I'm no longer stuck with the situation where I need to force somebody into the shop to go get lost, get distracted, click on things, add things to the cart I don't want. Instead, I could literally create a new page with any of the starter templates or with Gutenberg, and I can feature a particular product, right? So here's a sales page. and anything I want to say, but let's add a button, okay? And it could be any kind of a button, advanced button, whatever, okay? Buy this offer now. And all I do is now paste that link from that product into that particular thing I'm saying and doing. And let's just center this up because it's not a style issue. Let's publish this sales page. Now, what I've got here is the ability with just to simply adding that LaunchFlows option to a product, I've now created a new custom sales page where I can offer something. This is great. Like, let's say I'm in a webinar or I'm doing a lead magnet. When they click this, it immediately sends that product right to the checkout and takes them there ready to buy. This is huge because this now means that you have a way to take existing products, dissociate them from the traditional, I got to make somebody go through that 5-step process, and I can build anything I want to do. Another neat feature is order bumps or upsells. So instead of doing just like a button, I can give somebody a checkbox. Let me show you an example of that. With LaunchFlows, you can turn basically any checkout page, any sales page, any kind of page into something that offers an option to add a new product. So let's go back over here, for example, and let's look at our other products and we'll choose something else to offer as an upsell. So if I go to my backpacks, let's look at, let's say, I want to offer this red one as an upsell at the checkout page. All I need to do is to edit the product and look at the product ID. That's all you need. And to get the product ID, you can do it 2 places. You can look in the checkout link and scroll to the end, and I can see, I can see the number there is it's product number 517. Or I can sort of look under the post title 517, either way. So now here's my checkout page. With LaunchFlows, if I want to add a custom order bump and I don't want to choose anything else different, I can just simply /bump, order bump, type in the number 517. And again, I'm not styling anything yet. And since this is only one thing instead of like a choice amongst, I'm going to say the button style should be square instead of round. Click update. Now let's look at our checkout page because this is really going to be a big deal for a lot of people who've never seen this before. Now I have the ability to offer at the top of the checkout page an order bump, including a description of the product. Let's tweak this a little because quite frankly, I think that product description is probably more than I want to put. So let's say short description. We'll say no. Be a little less busy. And now let's refresh the page and we can see that we've got the main product bump here. Now with Gutenberg, this is what I love about Gutenberg. I can add all kinds of things above and below this. So for example, I might put in something like a headline and I might say, but wait, add this now, ... whatever your marketing terms are going to be. Watch what happens here. So now I've got the ability to just like center the conversation and get their attention. Watch what happens when I click on this. This product will be sent into the checkout and somebody will be able to buy first. Oh, one of the things that I should have done, my apologies. Remember how he said we have to set up the product. So I should have set up this product first, and we should do that to tell it that it needs to go to the checkout, of course. And similarly, if they buy this, we can also send them to my account. I went fast, so I didn't do that. So let's just try it again. Let's do our order bump. It ended up in there anyway, but I'm going to start it over. So if we add the order bump by checking the checkbox, it's going to add that product to the cart. And now we've got that order. So let's pause here and talk about this for a while, because I think it's really important to discuss why does somebody do this and what it means from the standpoint of compared to a regular, WooCommerce checkout experience. Oh, I thought you'd have questions at this point.
No, it's really it's not a question, it's observation. I think it's linked to our Friday panel show. You just see the enormous opportunities here with Gutenberg and with LaunchFlows and Fluent CRM to be able to build really fantastic solutions for clients.
Right.
But but it's all. But on the other hand, it all seems a bit over the place. But that's the whole point of these workshops is to offer guidance, isn't it?
But yeah, let's talk about it. This is actually not too much over the place, in my opinion, because what we're talking about is that you've got a sales mechanism built in with WooCommerce and LaunchFlows that let you literally achieve everything you want to achieve for a one-time product, subscription product, installment product with any gateway. And now that you can control the sales funnel, the journey of the user, you are not left with like, oh, bother, WooCommerce is only for a shop for selling physical products. Instead, you can turn it into something for a webinar, for some services company. And one of the things I've done with LaunchFlows is I've made this free pattern library where anytime I demonstrate something, I actually put the entire checkout experience in here for you to test out and use. So for example, like let's say you're a company that wants to take donations, right? We can literally just demonstrate here. Here's an example of a donation page that has 3 different price ranges, or name your price for a product. So I want to have the ability to give my customers a donation, or maybe it's a freelancer who wants to get paid. You owe me $890.12. You click to update, and that sends that directly to a custom tab checkout. And here's the coolest part, okay? If I want to offer this kind of checkout experience, I just copy the pattern code. I go back over here. Remember, we were just talking about like how Gutenberg and LaunchFlows makes this awesome. And I will leave the product bumps and stuff there, but I'm going to just go ahead and put a new line in, and I say paste. Look what just happened, right? Like I've got this cool situation where the entire layout of everything I want to do is delivered to me. And I don't have to think like, how am I going to build that experience? You get to test the experience, use the experience, play with the experience, and then one click, copy it for free. Why? Because you're using our stack of WordPress plugins instead of renting ClickFunnels. And I want to talk about one of the other consequences or benefits of that. I love Russell Brunson. I love his marketing expertise. I love the business and everything about it. But at the end of the day, you can use everything you love about his marketing tactics, techniques, all of his books with WordPress. Why? Because then you or your client own it and control it. And because we now have full marketing automation capabilities, like we talked about, and I'm going to show you another example of, you now don't have to have your or your client's business locked on someone else's platform. Here's the thing. I currently rent a house. I used to be in the real estate business. I used to own everything. There's lots of responsibility with ownership, but there's also great power. Why? Because every dollar I've given to my landlord, it's still his house. If he wants to kick me out after my lease is over, that's it. I can't do anything about it. If you build your business or your company's or your client's business on some platform, they want to kick you off, they kick you off. You want to do stuff they won't offer, nothing you can do. Here's how you avoid the problem from the get-go. Finally, business-wise, business to business, referral networks. We are a full-service agency, my company, WP Launchify. But you know what we don't do? We don't do content and design. We do the high-end marketing automation, membership, sales funnels, all the stuff I'm showing you. Your agency tends to do LMS and design. I don't want to speak for you. When you're a company or you have clients, you may be having opportunities come your way that right now you're having to flush down the toilet. You know what you can do instead? You can either work with us directly in some partnership capacity where we reciprocate, or you can even just get like a ready-to-go kit and then the 10 hours or so of time that's necessary for us to make you look like a hero so you don't have to say no to your clients, right? I mean, like literally, it's like a car dealership sells all those accessory services, and sometimes they're offered locally, sometimes they're through a partnership of another business. Okay, let's talk about some of this back-end stuff, because one of the things that's important is the automation aspect of this. So if you guys recall, or if you see the other video, when we did the original sales site, and let me just reverse this. When we did the original sales site, we had a situation where somebody was added to the CRM. The CRM is the client or the customer resource manager. That was Fluent CRM. And I want you to understand that the same is true now because they have actually visited a page, clicked a link, purchased a product. And why is that important? Well, let me explain it like this. Imagine you're trying to track the journey of a prospect from somebody who, was a cold lead, but said, I'll give you my free email. They're kind of interested in you. So first of all, you want to give them a tag that says they attended my webinar. And then I directed them to the sales page. They actually came to the sales page. So they got another tag for that. And by the way, they actually click the button. And by the way, finally, they bought. I now have 4 data points on a particular person by name and email, which Google Analytics will not give you. That's just some stranger. I now can have follow-up automations based upon, did they do this, and this, or just stopped at some point? Why is that important? Well, what if they got to the point of clicking the button but didn't buy? I can send a follow-up email after a certain number of hours or days that says, hey, Jonathan, I know you were interested in the blah, blah, blah product, but you didn't actually check out. Did you forget? Did you get distracted? I'll give you 25% if you click the button now to say yes to it. This marketing automation is fully in our hands here just by the product. So let's go back to what we were offering before, right? We had in the checkout the bagger and the arc blast. If we go back over to our products and we go to the bagger backpack, when I'm using Fluent CRM or WP Fusion, I have the ability, I'm going to show it with Fluent CRM, to give tags based upon when somebody actually purchased this product. Or in this case, if I wanted, it could be if they clicked a button or visited the page. Right now, to keep it simple, I'll just do it. Did they buy it? So successful purchase additions. Did they buy the product? First thing I want to do is go to Fluent, and let's just go to contacts, and let's add a new tag, right? And the new tag is going to be, we'll go over here to tags. The new tag should be purchased product name. I like to do it that way, right? So this product is called the Bagger 25. So I'll say, purchased Bagger 25. That way I'll know if they bought it. So I click update. All I have to do now is I refresh this page on that product, and I'll say, if they buy this, then give them that tag, right? So I'll go back here, Fluent CRM, purchased Bagger 25. Ta-da. I now have the ability to basically know that somebody have bought that product and then to trigger an automation that follows. Well, what kind of automation might I do? Maybe that particular product has a set of instructions. Maybe there's a webinar that goes with it. Maybe I want to send them an upsell to another product, and I only want them to see that other product if they have this tag. And I'm not going to get too deep here because we're just trying to introduce the tools. I want you to see that we have the ability inside of WordPress with LaunchFlows to develop custom offers and to tie things together, but then with the tags to know what things people have bought, and then with other conditional things that I'll show in some of my sales funnels, even to know when somebody just has something in the cart, but they haven't actually bought yet. Okay. John, do you have any questions at this point?
No, I think you're going through it. The only thing is, well, there's a lot of like micro steps, aren't there? But I think we're getting the picture now. It's really exciting, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to do a little self-promotion here, okay? I have to do this. So with WP Launchify, all right, we do a free call with anybody. You could be a professional or you could be an end user. We help you understand where are you at? Where's your client at? So basically we're saying, look, we specialize in doing anything across the board, but really our focus is on the membership, marketing automation, learning management, and e-commerce. And occasionally, because the lines cross, as you can tell, sometimes we'll just recommend using the design components of a starter template. But for normal adding content and design, either you as the professional can do it, or you can be referred to, again, like John's agency and so forth to help you with that. The things that people buy are essentially hours of time for us or a retainer. So for example, it's very popular for a professional to either do a 10-hour support package or just a one-time roadmap session. Sometimes they have enough clients, they just do a retainer deal with us because then they can ask unlimited. But it's either 10 hours or unlimited time on a monthly basis. And the reason is because we're in a no-code world. I developed the LaunchFlows plugin. I've been writing code since the beginning of WordPress. There's no reason to write code anymore. It's knowing which components to use for which business outcome. Finally, for myself, I like to say that this membership site solution is kind of the main thing that we do. And with this, we're essentially saying, look, you get the ability to get one-click launch of anything that we've built for yourself or your client for life. That's a library that's available, but you still get the 10 hours. And the reason this is all relevant is the reason we're doing these events is really to try to influence people to understand this is no longer about starting from scratch, Jonathan. It's about you and I as professionals in the WordPress space working with other professionals or end users to avoid using tools that are out of date, to avoid doing old methodologies, to avoid getting in a hand-coded spaghetti mess and then the client having to undo it. Because if we all start kind of getting on the same page, like we were talking about in the WP-Tonic show today, we're all going to do better. The clients do better, our agencies and our design services, if we're solopreneur, do better, and everyone's happier. So from that standpoint, I think we all have like a mutually beneficial goal here of saying, look, ClickFunnel's awesome. Do it on WordPress. Don't do WordPress the old way. Don't use the old plugins. Don't use the old hand coding. Snap together the solution and then collaborate with other professionals like ourselves so that you can sell the client what they need and it's bulletproof, but you get a higher amount for the time you've spent. And the client ends up getting a better product, a result that actually is scalable or, impervious to future-proof problems, like it would if, oh, don't worry, I'll write a custom function for you here that, breaks the next time a plugin updates and so forth. Does that make sense?
Does.
All right. Let's do a couple more examples for fun here because this is just really the beginning. So remember we were talking here about how you can offer this as an upsell. As an order bump. What if we wanted to do an upsell? Well, LaunchFlows has the capacity to do the same thing. Typically, an upsell would not be offered on the checkout page. It would be on a sales page. So let's go back over to what I was playing with a moment ago. Remember that little sales page that I did? And let's turn that into a fancy schmancy offer, okay? So as simple as just adding in one thing, because by the way, it's worth noting, let's go back over here actually. It's worth noting that I can build with the page builder a beautiful sales page just by using the Gutenberg blocks. And then all I need is the clickable link. But what if I wanted something that was like ready to go out of the box? Well, same idea. I just go over here and I type upsell and I use the upsell component instead. So here I'm going to just say the same thing, number 517. And then I can adjust the various parameters, like where's the page they go by ID after they say yes, or where do they go if they say no? I can change the message. There's lots of parameters that are easy to do with short codes, old school, right? So let's get rid of this and let's get rid of this. And watch what happens now. Now I've just got a beautiful, ready to go in 2 seconds, no design skills necessary, upsell of the product, right? And like all the person has to do is just say yes or no, and you can build this into a design. This makes it easy enough for you as a web designer or an agency to avoid wasting tons of time with little fiddly bits for a client because you can just customize the look and feel as simple as this. Watch. Let's say I type in rows and you want to do some cool stuff. Fine. Put in a 2-column row, drag this widget in place for your customer, then put some other thing here that's like, I don't know. Well, here we actually got but wait, add this now. Let's just use that little bit here. And we'll get rid of this one. And so now, I mean, I didn't do any design here, but you have full control with Gutenberg in a WYSIWYG fashion that otherwise is what ClickFunnels is, sorry, that was the wrong page. That otherwise ClickFunnels is selling you for $300 a month. Let's redo that because I was on the checkout page. Do the same thing as quickly as I just did it. So 2 columns, drag this to the right, and let's add a little headline in here. This offer is limited, whatever. And then they can adjust, all the parameters of this, how big you want it, and so on and so forth. But watch what happens. Literally, Design, in my opinion, for 2022 and beyond is layout. In other words, there are real artists. There are people who create literally with Photoshop and with Adobe Illustrator. But for most web implementers, design is understanding how to use the tools to get a beautiful outcome. And so look how easy that was. I'll take it one step further, John. Let's just imagine we're really, 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 really lazy and we want to use the starter templates. Remember we had that design library? This is what I do because I'm lazy, and that's why I don't do design, okay? I either choose from these beautiful sections or I go into the starter templates, okay? And remember, we were working with this other one, so I'll stay consistent. I could mix and match if I wanted. And for standalone sales pages, this is, by the way, a very lucrative business by itself. You can see how these beautiful things are already here. You can literally make a business of making, sales pages for people using this set of tools.
Yeah.
Right? So if I just picked one, here's my camping adventures. If I go inside, you see it's got all these like pre-made things. I could literally just choose one of these things to start with and just turn it into what I wanted to do, right? So if I wanted to make a sales page out of this one thing, I click, popped it in place. It's got all the, long form salesy kind of stuff I want. Let's just change this to what we want to do here. So we'll change our text to, but wait, this offer. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my widget from LaunchFlows and I'm going to pop it into the middle of that. Okay. And there might be some styling things that I have to tweak. I mean, I'm just doing this real quick live, but look how fast I'm doing this live. Let's see what the page looks like now. So after I update it, you see what I mean? Like, it's an awesome page. I got like all this great stuff. How much time did I spend? Nothing. So what is the client going to pay me for as a freelancer? They're going to pay me to put their content in and to move some stuff around and change the red to blue. That is way different from a profitability standpoint than like having to hand code HTML and come up with functions or to make the mechanics of how the sales funnel would work. And remember, when they say they want it, this is going to add this product into the checkout, take the product to checkout. Like functionally, it works as it's supposed to do. You couldn't do that without LaunchFlows. And in the past, it was hard to do even with WooCommerce. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think for today, that's enough because we're really there's a couple little doodads that I'll talk about in our next couple installments or workshops. But the takeaway is this. One of the things that I've dedicated the last 16 years to in WordPress is to being, we've talked about this, to being like 10 yards ahead of the crowd of what is the latest and the greatest set of tools to use. Because one thing is inevitable. Everything changes. Everything. Life, business, software. WordPress has come so far since the early days when you and I first met. I met you over 10 years ago. And I was teaching people how to do hand-coded bootstrap websites with like this idea of selling it to their customers. It's still true, but you know what's different? We didn't have iPhones. We didn't have like high-speed internet that everybody could talk on Zoom on. We were all just like carving stuff out of trees. Today, the way you're going to make money is by being agile, having relationships with other professionals, staying in your lane, and basically getting people to trust you who don't have any of these terms or any of these like, what do I call that thing I need for my business? Because they're going to rely on you to get them the help they need. And sometimes for you, it's more economical and actually more profitable to associate with other people like our businesses and vice versa. I have an enormous load of people who come to me every day or see my videos. I don't want to do content or design. So when I get those customers, I want to associate with people with whom I can send that to and have a reciprocal benefit. Does that make sense?
It does, Spencer. Just got a couple of quick questions before we wrap it up because I know you're not feeling 100%. What about, because I agree with you, there's just great opportunities for WordPress professionals to offer this to your clients and also work with Spencer and his team on the marketing optimization consultation, or the bigger clients that need complicated solutions. Spencer and his team are the experts. please, and they can offer a white glove, white label solution to you. Got one question. So we'll be dealing with email automation with Fluent CRM, which is a superb. What about text automation? Are there any WordPress solutions if you want to send automated text messaging are there any solutions?
Yeah, actually, so they all connect. SMS is the technical term that they say. They all connect through WordPress or through WooCommerce or through even the automation itself, like through Fluent. So there are other companies, but we, for example, use a company called Twilio. Twilio is a subscription service. They charge you like on how many texts get sent, but it connects your WordPress interface to an outbound, inbound messaging center, so that instead of it being sent through an email, it's essentially sent through a center where the people who sign up, let's say, would give you their phone numbers. And so you use a thing that says, instead of being notified by email, would you like to receive a text? Absolutely works great. It's pretty inexpensive. It's, fractions of a penny per text. And for many businesses, it's really good. Like, especially if you're doing live events, you're doing things you want to remind people before we've got a call at 1 o'clock, right? They're going to answer their phone. Maybe they might not answer their email. So, WordPress to Twilio is a plugin. It will work with anything where they would normally send out an email message. And then there's also versions of this that work with Fluent as well. Because again, think of Fluent as doing here's the contact, the user. I want to do a lot of stuff related to this person. So that handles who is this person and what's going to trigger the stuff. But then there's the other layer of email and SMS or on-screen messaging. That's another method of reaching people that allow you to interface with that particular contact, right? I'm going to change the screen to make it like flashing to let you know. I'm going to send you an email. I'm going to send you a text. Those are just different means by which you can reach the contact who is already on your site. And that actually brings me to a good point. I don't want to oversell this, but it really is the point. Anybody can be literally a competent and make a livelihood as a WordPress implementer. But 100%, I've seen this now for 16 years, you have to pick your poison of what to be an expert on. Some people, like I have a friend, Vince DePinto, since I've been born, we've been brothers, literally 50 plus years. He is the most amazing web designer. He gets clients who come to him who are Fortune 500 companies because of his design talents for really creating stuff from scratch. He's got a great YouTube channel, DePinto Design Studio. A couple of years ago, we were having lunch and I said, Vince, you're losing so much business because these people who come to you want websites and they can't do this on Wix or Shopify or Weebly. It's a WordPress. So he, like many of the other people who are artistically inclined, have now taken my advice and they take in these customers they have big budgets, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they end up basically using him for his design talents, and he refers me the mechanics. And together, it's a powerful situation because the client's happy. They get all the business acumen, entrepreneurial advice I can bring along with the mechanics of these things, and they get him for his design talents. And I think that's the thing that in 2022 to 23, I'm going to be spending a lot of time talking about, because you can see here how this ties together all my passions. My passions for teaching, the LaunchFlows product, WooCommerce, automation. It just all finally has come together and gelled.
So I've got another question. So fundamentally, just to wrap up the SMS question.
Yep.
Does ClickFunnels offer that functionality, or doesn't it?
I don't know if they do, but I'll say, hold on. I think they probably do. Let me see. There are third-party services that allow you to add it, which is to my point. So like we talked the other day, how ClickFunnels doesn't actually do the email. You have to add SendGrid. Similarly here, you have to add a third-party thing, which, by the way, is to be expected because that's a resource that can be used up very quickly, right? So if you use a one-to-one comparison, WordPress, here's a stack of stuff. You can either buy the hours from Spence or at WP Launchify, or buy the kit with anything I want from his library and the 10 hours. But at the end of the day, when I connect the business to use this, I'm going to pay for my own email services. I'm going to pay for my own text messaging. Obviously, that's not something provided by the person who showed me or gave me the tools to make the stuff. It's just a resource I use up myself.
Yeah, so just to finish off, folks, this particular question is that SendGrid, Twilio actually owns SendGrid, and they work really well. And I can testify with that, because we've actually built out some solutions that sends out email and SMS messaging utilizing those two services. Plus there's this plugin. I've got one last question, Spencer.
Sure.
I think a lot of WordPress professionals that are watching this, there are one qualm that in the back of their mind is that we're saying one of the backbone plugins that we utilize in the solutions that we're recommending here is WooCommerce. And in the back of the mind, they will have heard that it's a resource hog, and also it's a nightmare to maintain. My reply, and I just want to see if your own reflection on this, is that it really depends on the quality of hosting that you and your client are utilizing when it comes to WooCommerce. And second, a lot of the maintenance comes when you're utilizing it in the traditional method of an e-commerce website, where you've got all these different product layout templates, and upgrading WooCommerce, you've got to check them and make sure the layouts aren't we're utilizing it as a back-end engine. So it's a very different scenario. Am I correct in some of those statements I've made, Spencer?
Yeah, but I part of what I do professionally is I have one of my consulting agencies that I started with Jonathan Wald, who was with WooCommerce and knows most of the higher end people at in the WordPress ecosystem, the Automatic and so forth. We advise different companies who are trying to improve some of the functionality that exists in the WordPress space. Now, talking about e-commerce, there's something happening right now, and I'm going around to get to your answer. WooCommerce, to many people, has a perception of, why do I use it? How do I use it? It's hard to use and so forth. LaunchFlows was my solution as to how you can do the sales funnels and all the things I'm showing you to change its behavior without having to become bogged down into all these little nuances. But the benefit of WooCommerce, at its core, it is free. Mike Jolly and his team are some of the best developers in the entire WordPress world, and there's hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of people working on WooCommerce. There is not a better, more ubiquitous plugin. In other words, everything in WordPress will connect one way or another to WooCommerce. Having said that, one of our clients in the consulting realm is Rally. Rally is in the space for certain types of businesses where they want to interact with the WooCommerce product database, but when you go to the checkout, they want to take you to a completely different experience. Why? There's several companies that were in this space. One of them was Fast. One of them is Bolt. Obviously, we feel Rally has the greatest chance of success. That when you become a customer of one shop, you essentially become able to use this one-click checkout across multitudes of different places, as well as when you have a large e-commerce setup, people can have an immediate no speed issue checkout.
Yeah, I think we can speak about it's a fantastic company. I've interviewed.
Yeah, well, you had Jordan on your show, right?
Yeah.
So,
but I think can we just finish off with this question and see if I'm right? But what I was trying to point out to the WordPress professionals that are looking at this video is they're not going to be burdened with a lot of the updating that comes with the traditional use of WooCommerce in the solution that we're offering it, because we're utilizing it as an engine. So there isn't all the baggage that can come with utilizing WooCommerce connected to a more traditional solution. I would be right about that.
Let me get to the mechanics as well as the practical thing. Think of WooCommerce in the space of using it with LaunchFlows and what we're talking about as a transactional engine.
Yeah.
Okay. It has 10,000 things it could do, but you don't need it to be set up or use it for that. You can use it for the 5 or 6 things. Now, from the standpoint of setup, LaunchFlows just shows you on our quick start guide, like in 4 minutes, you set up a couple things to make it do what you want on the WooCommerce side. Then you obviously add product or products, but whether you're selling 10,000, MP3 files or selling 1 or 2, products that are high ticket, you no longer have to use the traditional 5-step process of the shop and the single page. The second part about scaling, we have found, because we're constantly testing it, there is going to be a bifurcation, and this is why it's important. Hosting providers are now really up to speed. They're doing things with Object Cache Pro, and they're doing things on the back end with CDNs and so forth, not forcing it down your throat, but letting you configure them or letting them help you to do it, so that if you do have a WooCommerce shop, no longer is it true that after 100 people, it starts to slow down. No longer do you have to worry like the whole thing grinds to a halt. WooCommerce scales amazingly. And when you're using a traditional, even like a $50 a month host, they all have that built in, like Cloudways has it built in. But I want to be clear, we're at an exciting time with headless WordPress and so forth, or with this kind of thing with Rally, where somebody can have their shop and their customers and their automation here on WordPress with WooCommerce, and it will connect to an outside experience. So you can kind of think like, if you do it this way today, you and your customers get the most modern setup possible without them having to become experts themselves. And I think that's where you're going to make the money as a designer or an implementer in the WordPress.
Well, WordPress professional. But just to finish this off, so I think you're agreeing with me, utilizing it with LaunchFlows and as part of your marketing automation stack. It does, because the reason why I brought this question up is to counter some of the propaganda that's out there that, if you utilize WooCommerce, you don't want to do that. I think for what
that's
we're
the Shopify crowd.
Yeah. It's terrible. But for what we're suggesting to utilize, it's a key part of the stack. It doesn't. We're counter-reacting the propaganda that comes from Shopify.
Well, there's two or three avenues. Okay, first, there's things like ThriveCart. Okay, ThriveCart, it's a product from a different era. It's a standalone, independent, transactional thing that has some basic automation in it. In the old days, there was that, and maybe like one of the CRMs that you could use, they used to call it Infusionsoft. We're in 2022. Okay, using Thrive over WooCommerce is the same thing like using Shopify. You have to make a choice that's a deal with the devil. Do you or your client want to be locked into an outside platform when everything else is happening inside the thing you own and control? And it's really important. I used to teach this all the time when we did 1WD. You are now able to have your entire business or your customers in a box that they own, control, back up hourly, move it anywhere they want, never lose access. As soon as you choose to use some other platform, and I'm not talking about a Rally, but I'm talking about like a Shopify or a ThriveCart, then you have given up the business to that system, because it's nearly impossible without a great amount of pain to remove the paying customers from there.
Yeah. I think that was helpful, but also I think most of the people that are watching this are WordPress professionals, and to some extent they have bought into what we're preaching. But I just think they have some concerns around maintenance, blah blah. But as we're utilizing it as an engine, I think
Jonathan, though, that's like people who still tout the nonsense, no offense, like people who are, I'm a Drupal developer or I'm a Joomla developer. Oh, WordPress is a security concern. No, it's not. Maybe it was a security concern 13 years ago, but not today. I mean, that's just literally, it is a common thing. You're not wrong, but I'm saying, like, when somebody says WooCommerce this or that, look at the stats of how many people are using WooCommerce. I mean,
no, I totally. But I'm just, I just want to clarify that for the WordPress professionals that are watching this. You don't have to be concerned because we're using it as an engine.
Not at all. But
So
more importantly, but one last thing. Sorry, I just want to put a cap on this. Okay. The reason I'm talking about WP LaunchFi and with WP-Tonic services as well. Let's say you're just curious about this. There's no longer a need for you to reinvent the wheel. Something we already have is the thing that you need for yourself or your client. The 10 hours of time over the years we've figured out is exactly enough time over the 12 months for you to get any questions or direct help you need to tweak it. But very important, it's a TV dinner. It really is. I mean, for 16 years, I've been selling TV dinners, but that TV dinner used to be like responsive theme with Bootstrap and all this code and then blah, blah, blah. Now it's the page builders with Gutenberg. Ta-da.
Yeah, but do go, if you've got a client and they've got a big project and you need a white glove partner and a white label partner, please go over and consult with Spencer and his team. They are the experts in market and they're a great WordPress partner for those larger projects which you fear not to take on. You've got a superb partner and resource there.
Well, so and vice versa, because we work together the other way around, though. I mean, when it comes to the LMS and so forth.
We'll be back next week with another great live show. Got any questions, please send them to myself or to Spencer. Join the WordPress, the WP-Tonic Facebook group. Spencer's active on that. I'm active. He'd be more than happy to answer any question. You got a question, either you can put it on the YouTube channel, or I would suggest the best way is go to the WP-Tonic Facebook page and put a question there, and Spencer, like I say, is pretty active on there and he'll answer it for you. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye.